Welcome to the Dinosaur Review for Kids podcast, a show all about reviewing dinosaurs on a scale of 1 to 10 fossils before only the elite terrible lizards make it into the Prehistoric Cage Match. This program is presented by the Stomp Chomp Roar Company and can be heard within all the rock layers across the planet. Grab your dinosaurs and your official scorecard because it's now time to dig for dinosaurs. Here's your Mesozoic host, Dinosaur Ranger Anthony.
Wagwan, my dinosaur beach dwellers. Forget about sand castles. What about sand dinosaurs? If you remember from my previous podcast all about the Pteranodon, aka the pterodactyl, Wagwan means what's going on in Jamaican. Now, my dinosaur ranger wife Elise and I had just an absolutely amazing time down in Montego Bay earlier this summer celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary. We just can't wait to go back to the Caribbean islands. So that gives me an idea. Let's go back today. What do you guys all think? Are you ready to soak up the summer sun or sink your toes into a nice white sandy beach? Well then crank up those speakers, grab your beach towel, and put on those sandals because it's time for the 4th Prehistoric Cage Match brought to you by the Stomp Chomp Roar Company. Now, as you remember, this is your host, Dinosaur Ranger Anthony, and I'll be your prehistoric beach guide for today's battle between these ginormous, terrible lizards that we call dinosaurs. In just a minute, the top 2 scoring Mesozoic-era creatures from season number 4 of the Dinosaur Review for Kids podcast will rise up from their paddocks below and face off one-on-one for a battle that will knock your sandals or your flip-flops off. Over the last 9 episodes of the Dinosaur Review for Kids podcast, I have reviewed a number of dinosaur species, including the Nanotyrannus, the Iguanodon, the Giganotosaurus, the Pteranodon, the Microceratus, the Cryolophosaurus, the woolly mammoth, the Ankylosaurus, and the Brachiosaurus. During each episode, I gave a species a fossil score of 1 out of 10 stars, aka we call them fossils. 1 fossil for some of the weakest dinosaurs, and 10 fossils for some of the strongest dinosaurs. Every 10th episode, I take the top 2 scoring dinosaur species from the current season or the previous 9 episodes, and we let them go one-on-one inside the Prehistoric Cage Match. This is the ultimate who would win battle. Today's matchup is between the Brachiosaurus and the Giganotosaurus. Now, it's time to bring our dinosaurs onto this sandy battlefield. Stomp Chomp Roar welcomes you to the 4th Prehistoric Cage Match. We are live from Omaha, Nebraska. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the Prehistoric Cage Match. It's time for the Heavyweight Dinosauria Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, a fossil score of 9.0, standing 50 feet high, 85 feet long, and weighing in at some 100,000 pounds. From the late Jurassic period, some 145 million years ago. Fighting out of Western North America, it's the long-necked dinosaur, it's the armed lizard, it's the Brachiosaurus! Introducing its opponent, fighting out of the red corner with the fossil score of 9.0, standing 12 feet high, 46 feet long, and weighing in at some 16,000 pounds. From the mid-Cretaceous period, some 95 million years ago. Fighting out of Argentina, it's one of the largest theropods. It's the giant southern reptile. It's the Giganotosaurus! Let's have a fair, clean fight. Touch claws and or hooves, and back into your corners.
Round 1, fight!
Right on, my dinosaur fossil hunters, we've made it back into the famous Prehistoric Cage Match, where 3 previous dinosaur species have been named champions. Now today's matchup is at the fabulous Stomples Resort here in the tropical Caribbean. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright. The sun is beating down on the coral reef below. The white sand beaches sparkle with all kinds of shells and past marine life, and the palm trees sway through the air as a flock of pteranodons fly overhead. A lone Brachiosaurus with its giraffe-like stance just stomped its front legs back onto the ground. The vibration on the beach can be felt for yards and yards. Again, this arm lizard, as it is known, rears back onto its back legs to reach even higher into those palmy trees along the sandy coastline. The Brachiosaurus tears away at the palms with its 52 spoon-shaped teeth. In the distance, you can see the Giganotosaurus enjoying a long walk, or maybe even a stomp on the beach, sometimes picking up speeds up to 20 miles per hour. This large theropod dinosaur is on the hunt and looking for anything to sink its 76 8-inch teeth into. Water begins to rush into the nearly 36-inch long footprints as the Giganotosaurus continues to stomp down the white sandy beach. The Giganotosaurus can see the long neck up ahead, feasting on a fresh tropical salad. The long neck continues to peacefully eat all kinds of vegetation from on top of the palm trees. The towering 50-foot size of the Brachiosaurus would normally be too much for any carnivore dinosaur to even think about. But this Giganotosaurus, with its small banana-shaped brain, hasn't eaten for over a week. The Giganotosaurus's mouth begins to drool as it keeps its sight on a huge sauropod as it gets closer and closer with every stomp. Again, the 5-story Brachiosaurus drops back down onto all 4 legs and begins walking slowly 6 to 10 miles per hour towards the water's edge after it takes one final gulp of the palmy leaves as it swallows them whole. The 30-foot long neck of the Brachiosaurus starts to drift downwards as it dips its lower jaw beneath the water for a quick drink. The Giganotosaurus, with its stiff tail pointing backwards, begins charging as it sets its frontward-facing eyes on the right side of the Brachiosaurus. Alerted, the Brachiosaurus lifts its small head with its nose on its forehead from the water as it sees the Giganotosaurus charging its way. The Brachiosaurus begins to turn away from the carnivore as it swings its short but thick tail against the Giganotosaurus. The impact of the tail sends the Giganotosaurus splashing into the waters along the beach. The Brachiosaurus starts to step backwards, away from the water as the Giganotosaurus gets back onto its feet. Again, this Giganotosaurus charges towards this famous long-necked sauropod. As the Giganotosaurus approaches, the Brachiosaurus quickly rears up onto its hind legs and slams its 5-toed front feet back onto the ground in hopes to scare off this Giganotosaurus. The Giganotosaurus moves quickly back towards the Brachiosaurus's right side. The height of the Brachiosaurus is just too much for this meat-eating dinosaur to handle. The Brachiosaurus is 4 times taller than the Giganotosaurus. The long neck again starts to swing its tail to the right, hoping to hit the Giganotosaurus again. This time the Giganotosaurus lands a bite to the leathery-like skin on the front leg of the Brachiosaurus. This is its arm lizard. The arm lizard has been bitten by the Giganotosaurus. Its bite force isn't as strong as the T-Rex, but it is still dangerous. The force isn't enough to fully lock onto the leg of the long neck as the Brachiosaurus begins to pull away with its huge muscular legs. The knife-like teeth still do damage to the front leg of the Brachiosaurus as a growl is heard into the arena. The Brachiosaurus swings its neck downward and across the sky from left to right as it pushes the Giganotosaurus further up the shoreline. The giant sauropod begins to storm forward like a herd of 10 to 15 elephants as it forces this carnivore to walk backwards up the beach. The long neck stops as the Giganotosaurus starts to hold its ground and starts to charge back towards the Brachiosaurus. But again, the enormous size of the Brachiosaurus is just too much for this great southern lizard. The Brachiosaurus swings its long neck from left to right and strikes the Giganotosaurus, sending it stumbling as it crashes into a beachside tiki hut. Bamboo poles are tossed everywhere as palms scatter along the beach. The Brachiosaurus rears up onto its back legs as it hits the ground once more. The stomp is loud enough to scare any creature away, but not this starving meat eater. The Giganotosaurus stumbles back onto its feet and roars into the sky. As the Giganotosaurus charges, it lowers its narrow 6-foot head, hoping to push the Brachiosaurus backwards. The long neck takes a few steps back as it inches closer to the water down on the beach. The Brachiosaurus starts to swing its tail to the right to swat away at the Giganotosaurus. As the waves crash along the beach, small drops of blood from the Brachiosaurus' injured leg fall into the water and trickle back into the ocean. This time the Giganotosaurus opens its jaws and grasps onto that giant tail as its 3-finger claws scrape along its left hind leg. The Brachiosaurus uses all of its strength to spin around in a circle as the Giganotosaurus lets go of its tail. The long neck slams its front right paw against the beach and drags its toe claw through the sand like a bull ready to charge. Both dinosaurs stand right inside the coast as the water continues to splash against their legs. In the distance, a Mosasaurus can be seen from just above the water's edge as it breathes the Mesozoic air. The scent of the Brachiosaurus's blood may also be drawing other creatures nearby. The Giganotosaurus again rushes towards the front side of the Brachiosaurus. This time the sauropod swings its long neck from right to left, knocking the carnivore into the knee-high water. The Giganotosaurus again sees the injured front leg of the Brachiosaurus and stomps that way. The Brachiosaurus starts to swing its tail and its body, but it's too late. The Giganotosaurus again makes contact with its teeth onto the right front femur. The Brachiosaurus lets out a loud growl as blood starts to fill the waters below. The long neck pulls itself backwards towards the beach as the Giganotosaurus slips off into the water. In one slow motion, the Brachiosaurus rears up onto its hind legs and reaches its neck far, far into the sky, just like the volcano scene of the Brachiosaurus in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Then with all its power, it begins to fall back down towards the Earth like a cannonball or the asteroid that killed off the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. It falls back down onto all 4 legs, splashing salt water all over the Giganotosaurus and into its eyes. At the same time, the neck of the Brachiosaurus continues the heavy downward motion, slamming into the Giganotosaurus's right side and throwing it deeper into the waters. The air has been taken out of this carnivore. The Brachiosaurus takes 2 giant steps forward and rears up for just a moment. Oh no, can it be happening? The Brachiosaurus slams down on top of the Giganotosaurus, crushing its leg bones with its giant paws and toe claws. The Giganotosaurus roars into the arena as the Brachiosaurus steps backward. The legs of the great southern lizard are crushed and unable to move. Bubbles begin popping from out in the water. What is it? Is it the Mosasaurus? Is it a Sarcosuchus? No, it's the Spinosaurus. Its sail lifts from out of the water as the biggest carnivore of all time lifts up on its 2 legs and walks towards the Giganotosaurus. The Spinosaurus looks down towards the Giganotosaurus as it snaps its crocodilian-like snout around its neck and twists. Ouch! Oh no! It's just like the Jurassic Park 3 when the Spinosaurus defeated the bull T-Rex. The head of the Giganotosaurus falls into the water as the Spinosaurus lifts its head into the sky and puts out a ginormous roar. The Brachiosaurus slowly takes a few steps backward onto the beach and almost seems to nod at the Spinosaurus, saying thank you. No one is as big as these 2 giant carnivores and herbivores, the Spinosaurus and the Brachiosaurus. Once more, the Brachiosaurus uses all of its weakened strength to rear back onto its back legs and reach up into the sky and let out a victory roar. This one is for the Brachiosaurus. And now for your prehistoric cage match highlights. What a battle on the beach. I don't think anyone would have chosen the Brachiosaurus to win this matchup. The massive size of this healthy adult Brachiosaurus was just too much for the Giganotosaurus to handle. Now, we do know down in South America that the Giganotosaurus may have been able to take down other sauropod-type dinosaurs. This is because we find the fossils of another sauropod dinosaur called the Argentinosaurus. We find Argentinosaurus fossils alongside Giganotosaurus fossils. So the Giganotosaurus may have sometimes won this battle when we look into the fossil record. But as for today's matchup, the enormous size difference was just too much for this meat eater from Argentina to handle. Even though the Spinosaurus might have put the Giganotosaurus out of his misery, it was the Brachiosaurus that put the Giganotosaurus down for the count. 1, 2, 3 by crushing its legs. There's no way the carnivore would have been able to get up from this one. Ring the bell, ref. Ding, ding, ding. Team Herbivore picks up its 2nd win inside the prehistoric cage match. And your 4th Dinosauria champion of the world, the greatest known longneck, it's the Brachiosaurus! Yeah, man, what a prehistoric cage match. Our 4th prehistoric cage match is in the rock layers now. What a great matchup. Did you guys all see that coming? Yeah, man, oh man, it was just great. Was that cool or what? The Brachiosaurus has truly raised its neck to the top of the world and become the champion. I've just loved the Brachiosaurus ever since I was a little boy, watching Littlefoot eat all kinds of tree stars. And I'm just so happy this long-necked dinosaur was able to pull off the win. Go Team Herbivore! Now, what an episode, everyone. Now, Dinosaur Review for Kids fans, I just want to take a moment to say thank you all so much for taking this ride with me on my podcast journey. I can't believe I'm up to episode number 40. Is that crazy or what? So from the deepest of my herbivore-like heart, I just want to say thank you so very, very much for tuning in each and every week to find out your next dinosaur review and your prehistoric cage match winner. Now, as we look onto season number 5, do you have a favorite dinosaur species that I have yet to review? Then send me an email with its name to stompchomproar@yahoo.com and I'll do my best to add it onto the list for season number 5. Now, you guys, I'll be off over the next couple weeks, but it will be to record something extra special. Now that we have 4 dinosaur champions from inside the Prehistoric Cage Match, what do you guys think about them all fighting against each other? This will be a fatal 4-way matchup. It's the Tournament of the Champions. It's the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's the Utah Raptor. It's the Ankylosaurus. And it's the Brachiosaurus in the ultimate Prehistoric Cage Match to determine the undisputed dinosaur champion of the world. Now, until we meet again, this is Dinosaur Ranger Anthony, your awesome, incredible, fabulous, stunning, and wonderful host of the Dinosaur Review for Kids podcast. And remember to hang loose and keep digging for dinosaurs.